Back at the apartment, I began to explain what had happened at the club. Well, I explained some of it, but then we were both as bad as each other with the compulsions and addictions. Sheila said that she would help me to get some help first, starting with a dentist. She screamed that I should check into a rehabilitation centre, really screamed at me. She was charged and wild. She said that she loved me but couldn't take any more. I stepped out of the shower and wrapped a towel around my waist. It began collecting drops of blood from my nose and mouth. The bathroom was filled with steam. The mirror was dripping with condensation. The sink and shower tray splattered with blood. She was standing by the bathroom door with her bag and her keys, looking nervous and scared and stoned. I felt like a dog waiting to get whipped. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be sorry, just stop what you're doing. We've both got to stop." I asked her where she was going and she told me, "Sylvia's house, to think." "Do you hate me?" I asked. "No, I don't hate you. Just want to know who the hell has done this to you." "No, I think I know who's done it. I just want to know why." "It's a long story. It always is with you." Something came to my mind to tell her that it was time to go. "Let's make a run for the sun. I have to be free. Is the car ready?" When she assured me that it was right outside the door, I said, "Good, I'm ready." She asked me where we would be going, and I said that I wasn't sure. The only thing that I was clear of in my mind was that I had this trip coming up, and that the time had come. "I'm going," she said. "I'm sorry. I just can't do this anymore. One of us will end up dead." She snapped her keys into her bag and walked out of the bathroom. I closed my eyes and tried to ignore the nightmare in the mirror. Another torn-up refugee from the Chancers Club, a doom-struck gimp who couldn't handle the pressure. I remember the door buzzer going. When I picked up the videocom, there were two men standing down on the terrace that I didn't recognise. One had long black greasy hair, and the other short hair and a beard. They looked rough, hard, a pair of desperate, burned-out addicts. I crossed the room noiselessly and crept towards the window. They both smoked and were leering up towards the top floors of the building. After a couple of minutes, they sloped off. I slowly trailed down the stairs and stepped cautiously out of the door to try and get a look at which way they had gone. But it was too late. My head was stinging, my mouth hurting. My nose felt broken and my insides bruised. When I breathed in, my right-hand side ribs felt cracked. I rubbed my stomach and could feel it coming, the bile rising up my throat hard and fast. I couldn't stop it. Probably did me good just riding through it. The puke came and there was nothing that I could do. I dried myself off, got dressed, and walked to the living room. When I lay down on the sofa, I was overcome by fatigue. I closed my eyes for a few moments, and I was asleep. When I woke up, I couldn't move. I was laying face down on the carpet with the carpet stuck to my cheek. I could smell carpet and puke, and with no people to fill a place, it's hard to adjust to a soundscape of comfortably routine car horns, footsteps in a shared passage. It's no way to relax. I walked over to the tube and turned it on. A dead channel, white noise at maximum decibels. I began changing channels until I found the perfect sound for taking life. A suicide bomb in Dallas, the Daily News roundup, local gun crime on the increase, a commercial for razor blades, and then back to the powerful and continuous hiss that could drown out any sudden movement. I looked at the glass coffee table scattered with cosmetics, a whiskey bottle, a vodka bottle, orange and pomegranate juice cartons, a tub of multicoloured straws, a small square mirror, and a box of cold, greasy French fries. I spotted half a glass of room-warmed water and swallowed it back. Tasting acid bile made me heave again. I traced my fingers across my face and everything was swollen, put a finger in my mouth, over the nerves of my broken teeth, and pressed down my tongue to take a look at the pale green at the back of my throat. When I did, my lips cracked. I wasn't hungry, but I knew that I should eat something for sustenance. I reached for a handful of fries, pressed them together, and pushed them into my mouth, right to the back of my throat, washing them down with the warm water. In those days, the buzzer didn't go that often, and if it did, I would draw back into the fabric of the apartment. Only at a persistent buzz would I sneak out from behind a curtain, creep over the carpet, and make my way to the top of the stairs to look at the videocom. When I looked that time, I saw two men, one business type in a crumpled black suit, and the other a huge Asian man in a blue tracksuit. The businessman was standing back from the door, looking about the building and the empty parking space. From my vantage point at the top of the stairs, I had a clear view of the front door, and after a few moments the Asian man broke open the letterbox. I could see his hooked nose edging through the gap, the scar on his cheek still red and raw, his bulging brown eyes shining greedily around my hallway. After a moment he stood up, patted his pockets, took out a packet of cigs, chewed one into his mouth and sparked up. He took a drag and handed it to the businessman who was talking into his phone. He put the cigarette between his teeth and carried on talking through the smoke, with the sentences coming out with a hiss from between his teeth. A broad Cockney accent, rapid and aggressive, his eyebrows shooting up. Finally, he shook his head, put away the phone, and they both left. I stepped out onto the balcony. When I looked up, grey clouds filled the sky and the trees were bare. A chill was setting in and the pavement weeds were dying. I was still damp and, without shoes or a shirt, I began to dither. A car passed by and the man driving was looking up at me. I thought that I recognised him. It looked like the private detective that Jean employed to keep track of debtors. With limbs like jelly, I took baby steps back up the stairs, bruised and aching with each excruciating lifting of a leg. When I got back inside the apartment, I turned and was suddenly shocked by my own image in the mirror. My face was ashen and there was a lump on my forehead the size of a boiled egg. I had no nose, just a purple and red swollen mess across my cheeks. My mouth was hideously swollen and both my lips were cut. It felt like all my front teeth were broken or cracked. Both eyes were practically closed and the carpet around the bathroom was covered in puke and blood. I couldn't look at myself anymore. I couldn't face myself. I couldn't look into my own eyes. I was an addict and a cheat for more reasons than you know. I was finished. I could feel the warmth from the air conditioning wrap around my body. It slowed the shaking down. You probably realise by now that I have these storms of emotions and they have a trick of exhausting themselves. After a time I realised that I was fucked, and with little pools of water about me on the carpet, I got up, almost mechanically, went into the dining room, drank some vodka and slid down the wall. I know what I needed. I needed something that would fill me with glory. I had an idea, something that would take the pain away. I needed to be wasted. That was the solution that fast became an obsession. I began tearing up the apartment just looking for the box. I put a chair by the kitchen cabinets and stood up to get a look on top. No sense of satisfaction came. I pulled out the bottom pan drawer of the cooker. Nothing. I was looking in all of the familiar places. At the bottom of the wardrobe, screaming I was. Could I fucking find it? I couldn't find the box, and I was screaming the walls down. The rooms were empty, just me, and I was screaming into nothing, at nobody. More than anything, I didn't want Sheila to go. Not on that day, of all days. I just needed her around, but she wasn't answering. At least 6 times I called. She was avoiding me. No matter how close we became, she says that she felt alone. We are 2 lonely people, Sol. And then another cold winter reminder, 2 lost people. And now the dread was scaring me to this distraction. I pulled drawers from the kitchen cabinet, smashed them on the floor. Kitchen knives, forks, spoons, plates, cups. I'm back in the living room with bottles of booze and a bag of goodies. I'm using everything in large amounts as fast and as hard as I can. I'm calling her a bitch as I run around the white heap on the table. I'm wasted to the edge of insanity, and it feels normal. It feels good, just like the first time. I know I'm troubled, and this was always to be my fate. I found the gun at the bottom of the box, under the bag of goodies. A dusty, chugging, clinking revolver, .38 Eliminator. I knew how to hold it, look down its sight, smell the burnt cordite down the barrel. I knew how to use that gun. I went to the bottom of the garden and thought what to write to the family that had written me off. Dear all of you, this is my heart, and I'm talking truthfully. Standing with my back to that dangerous fence, I ratcheted open the cylinder, and it sent the gun off balance. It had a bullet in every chamber. I could see the lead tips. I spun it, and clicked it shut like it was a work of liquid blue genius. Unfashionable, uncompromising, but genius. I pressed the barrel over my broken teeth and into my mouth. It was cold, and it felt right. Every chamber was full. It was obvious what would happen. I spun the cylinder again. Click, click, click. And it stopped. I hooked my thumbs around the trigger. My body crippled with vodka, and my mind with everything else. I was as wasted as hell, and my thumbs were pulling on the trigger. Pulling. Pulling. Pulling.